Call to order. City of Negaunee regular meeting, May 8th, 2025. Negaunee Senior Center. All rise for pledge of allegiance. Pledge of allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mayor Elmanin, Councilmember Becker,
Yes.
Councilmember Howard,
Hello.
Councilmember Chloe,
Here.
Councilmember Kangas.
Here.
Councilmember Deeps. Councilmember Ganabundra.
Here.
All right, entertain a motion to approve the agenda, please. I'll support it. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
All against? All right, number 5, public comment. 3-minute public comment, please. Please stand up to the podium, state your name, current address. Again, just like last month, our big criticism right now is the fluoride issue, let's stand up and speak on something other than fluoride if we have a comment not about fluoride. I'd like to entertain those first, and then after those comments, then by all means, please stand up with our continuing fluoride conversation. All right, with that, I open public comment. 3 minutes.
I need to address 7.8 land swap.
No, we'll get to that,
Don,
we'll get
one
to that.
second, we have someone at the podium.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Hi, my name is Kristen Wainio. I live at 109 Alice Street. I'm asking that the city comes and fills those potholes. I called Monday, I spoke to somebody, they said they'd be out. They came out, I think Tuesday, just did the potholes by the corner. That was it. Called yesterday, left a message, called today, talked to Raymond this morning. He said, I'm not really sure when we're gonna be over there. Oh, okay, well, why is that street so different? Why aren't you guys fixing our streets over there? Regardless if you're gonna do a new, whatever, pave it, do whatever. I ended up talking to Terry Parkinen today. He said he would get it done tomorrow. I don't know why you guys are not filling the potholes appropriately and in good time. People's cars are gonna get ruined. I don't wanna drive all the way down halfway Ann Street to go back up. Why should I have to? We pay taxes here. That's it, thanks.
I'd just like to reserve time to speak under 7.8 if needed. I didn't know if I had to do that through the public.
That's an agenda item, we'll get to that. Any further public comment? Open up the fluoride side of the comment now.
Hello, I'm Dr. Natalie Evans, and I live at 146 Midway Drive. I'm here requesting that Negaunee City Council hold a public hearing on water fluoridation. Thank you. Valerie Olson, 116 Hillcrest Trail. I've been a health professional for nearly 30 years now, and I'm a daughter of a dentist. I really want to also request that you hold a public hearing where health professionals can come and share information, and you can be free to ask your questions too. Given the landmark ruling, which I'm hoping some of you went and read the comments of the doctors and dentists in the testimony under oath that was given by the representative from the CDC and the EPA and the FDA, when they were asked if they had just a single study that showed the upper limit of safety of adding fluoride to the water that would not risk harm to the developing brain of our children and young. And each representative, under oath, said no. You know, the ending of the ruling on September 24th was stated by Judge Edward Chen that at 0.7 parts per million, that's what nearly all the cities are using, it posed an, quote, unreasonable risk of neurological harm to our children and the unborn. And when we've never had a ruling that's this monumental, that's of this magnitude on fluoride, ever. This is the highest ruling, and it took 6 years for the highest agency in our country, that's the National Toxicology Program, to review all of these studies, make sure there were no conflicts of interest. They took 6 years plus to do this. And all that information then was given to Judge Edward Chen to make a ruling. But the interesting thing to me is, as a daughter of a dentist, and having addressed a group of dentists locally recently, I can't tell you how disappointed I am that the American Dental Association attempted to change the report because they got wind that it was going to be made public in 2 weeks, asking for parts to be deleted. I mean, when I read the transcript, and you can all read the transcript, go to fluoridealert.org and read. They actually attempted, and it was all exposed by FOIA request, which is a good thing, because then I could say to these dentists, and if my father were still living, I would say the same thing, we cannot trust them to give good guidance if they put their own credibility above the well-being of our children and unborn. This ruling cannot be disputed. It is critically
30
important.
seconds.
Pardon?
30 seconds.
Okay, so I'm just asking that in light of this ruling, which we've never had one of this magnitude before, please hold a public hearing so you can ask questions, we can have other health professionals come, and we can discuss this really important issue. Thank you very much.
Hi, Carrie Palmer, 566 Bluff Street. I'm reading parts of multiple U.S. cities stop putting fluoride in water supply after federal ruling acknowledges risk to children. Judge Edward Chen of the U.S. District Court for the Northern District of California ruled that the current recommended U.S. fluoride level of 0.7 milligrams per liter or 0.7 parts per million is significantly higher than levels needed to cause harm to children's IQ. Chen cited data from the National Toxicology Program showing that every 0.28 milligrams per liter of fluoride in a pregnant woman's urine translated to a 1-point IQ drop in the child. Chen pointed out that the current medium level found in pregnant women's urine is 0.8, significantly higher than the 0.28 danger level and higher than the current recommended level of 0.7 parts per million. The current EPA regulations only require that fluoride concentrations do not exceed 4 milligrams per liter, which is far higher than the level shown to cause harm. And to summarize, EPA, basically the fluoride concentrations cannot exceed 4 parts per million. HHS and the CDC's optimal level is 0.7 parts per million, which is much less than that. And 1962 to 2015, that optimal level they recommended was 1.2 parts per million, just as a reference that has changed since then. It's much lower now. 0.8 parts per million is the medium level that was found in pregnant women's urine, and 0.28 parts per million is the danger level that is for the developing brain, much, much lower than the 0.7 parts per million that is considered an optimal level. So some people will conclude that the safe level of fluoride added to the water to the pregnant women or to the developing brain would be 0. The EPA is actually reevaluating that due to this court ruling. And we don't have to wait on that by any means. We're asking the city council to hold a public hearing so we can all discuss this. Both sides can discuss this, and health professionals can come to the table and give you a presentation, if you will. They can answer any questions that you may have. We need the mayor either to do this, to facilitate this, or 3 city council members. We currently have Amanda and Matt that said yes, they would do this, and thank you so much. We really appreciate that. We need 1 more city council member. We're asking one of you just to step up and just have a public hearing on this,
30
and we
seconds,
can all
Carrie.
discuss this together. So thank you very much, and I hope you will I'll get a public hearing for everyone. Thank you.
Any further public comment?
Hi, my name is Clara, and I live at 316 Pine Street, and I just request that the Negaunee Council, the council, has a hearing on water fluoridation. That's what it.
Thank you. Anyone else for public comment?
Dave Campana, 1711 Grandview Drive in Marquette. Thank you very much for allowing me to be here. I very much believe in fluoride in our water community, in our communities. The amount of fluoride that's in the water is 0.7. Marquette, Ishpeming, Negaunee, probably everywhere. That 0.7 parts per million has never been proven to cause damage or ill health anywhere. 0.7 is completely safe. All these reports of problems, medical issues, diminished IQ comes when people are given much more than 0.7. Double, triple, sometimes 6 times as much. The studies that are done on pregnant women for diminished IQ are done in countries other than the US. Countries that have high levels of fluoride, subjected to pollution, poor standards of living, so you cannot compare that to what's in the US. I would like to, in regards to the studies done on fluoride that this Judge Chen commented on, there were the studies were done over a period of number of years, rejected twice by peer review. Peer review looked at them and says, these things aren't done well, it's a poor test, so they flunked them. The third time they went and found this judge, one judge out of 660-some judges, he looked at it and he says, and I'm going to quote, this is a quote, Judge Chen does not conclude with certainty that fluorinated water is injurious to public health, does not conclude that it's dangerous. He says, lower IQs in children may be connected to higher levels, the word is higher, levels of fluoride. Does not say 0.7. So 0.7 is safe. It's safe. You never have anything to worry about. So I ask, if people tell you things, that problems are caused, the first thing you should ask them, well, how much fluoride was given to this individual? Thank you.
Hi, Jeff Plummer, 566 Bluff Street, Negaunee. I'll keep my comments on fluoride pretty short. We've had some dentists speak as to the issue of fluoride. There are many, many dentists and medical doctors that disagree with public water fluoridation. And I will just quote one. This is one I saw recently. He's a dentist. He's from the UK, but I just came across this quote. Dentist Neil Kothari, after extensively studying this field for more than a decade, I remain convinced that we as a sector are promulgating water fluoridation en masse because we are biased towards it. We are exaggerating the effect and downplaying the risks for reasons that are entirely unscientific. We in the profession believe that we have a moral impetus to press ahead with water fluoridation. The public remains unconvinced and the science is less than persuaded. This makes no sense whatsoever to push ahead with this, and it is not just bad politics, but crucially, it's bad science. And so there's a whole other side to dental professionals that have major concerns with water fluoridation. Many of them agree that topical fluoridation is useful. There's no need to put it in the water, and the harms, and I believe, I don't have my paperwork with me, the 0.7 parts per million in the Cochrane review, which was a meta-analysis, it was not a study, it was a meta-analysis of many recent studies on IQ and water fluoridation. Some of those studies were at 0.7 parts per million. Most of them were at 1.5 TARP, which is still considered an acceptable range, and they all showed diminished IQ. And so the Cochrane collaboration is a very, very authoritative, well-respected group, and some of those studies were at 0.7, and neurological damage was with it. So that's all I want to say about that, and other than please, a public hearing would allow this issue to be vetted fully. I find it interesting that the professional dental pro-fluoride groups don't want a public hearing. That is a little alarming and concerning that they don't want to see this vetted more thoroughly, especially now that our government is looking into it seriously because of many recent rulings. So thank you for your time.
Hello, my name is Rebecca Mino. I'm a registered dental hygienist and health educator with the Market County Health Department. My address is 725 Carr Street, Negaunee. I've been in dentistry and public health for 38 years. I won't take a lot of your time because I've spoke twice already here on this subject, but I wanted to just say a couple things. The reports that they are talking about in studies are always on very high fluoride levels. We in the United States, the amount of fluoride that is put into our community water to be fluoridated is always at a 0.7 parts per million. Our water authority does a great job of monitoring this. It's monitored every 4 hours, monitored daily. So what I wanted to let you know also is that the American Academy of Pediatric Dentistry, along with 250, I'm gonna say that number again, 250 leading health organizations in the United States sent a letter to RFK and Congress on April 15th of this year. It is affirming the safety and effectiveness of community water fluoridation, and I will make sure to send that letter to the city council. The bottom line is please don't fall for junk science. Support policies that are backed by real, scientific, peer-reviewed, evidence-based research. Look around you. Where are all the fluoride-infected people? You don't see any. Again, please don't let this bad science rot your brain like cavities rot your teeth. I really appreciate your time. Thank you so much.
Any further public comment?
Hi, Kristen Riley,
You
on
already
109 Alex.
spoke, you already spoke.
I can't speak again?
No, we can do another public comment.
At the end? Okey dokey, thank you.
Henry Plummer, 566 Bluff Street. Several people have spoken on both sides of the fluoride issue, so I would just like to suggest, and I think it is a good idea to have a public hearing, no matter what your opinion would be on fluoride, just so people can discuss this further. Thank you.
Any further public comment? All right, seeing none, closing public comment. Moving on, number 6, unfinished business, none seen. Number 7, new business. 7.1, community heart and soul presentation. Ann, you want to give a background on this?
The City of Negaunee is dedicated to public participation by residents, landowners, business owners, the general public. In order to facilitate this, quality feedback must be sought out by city government to better understand how to serve the public. A foundation program named Community Heart and Soul can help to facilitate Negaunee's desire to fulfill its policy of public participation. Members of the Community Heart and Soul program will provide a short presentation and answer questions that council may have. The city manager is requesting that the city council allow him to work with Community Heart and Soul to facilitate a community project in Negaunee in order to meet the following goals. Create an updated public participation plan, make suggested updates to any city planning documents, better understand what community development and services should be focused on. Please note, should the council provide permission to the city manager to proceed, a budget and service agreement will need to be approved at a later date by city council. Recommendation, city staff recommends to allow the city manager to develop a service agreement
between Community Heart and Soul for the purpose of conducting a community project to be approved by the council.
Mr. Mayor, we have Bob here and Matt from Community Heart Soul that will provide us a short presentation, and we will answer questions anybody from the council may have.
We want to start that presentation before we make a recommendation, before we make a motion.
We can do the presentation first.
Yep.
Yeah, Matt over here, and Bob's in the black. Is it Matt, is Matt helping, or?
Yep.
Jerry's just gonna hand
We
it out
have
to you.
Jerry's handing out, so Matt, Bob, and Jerry.
So you want me at the podium, so it's recorded, correct?
Wherever you'd like to.
I
present.
think, Matt, if you be the button boy,
You gotta be good at something.
you get a little better, you'll get a little better audio in the future. So this is probably, Brian's looking at me, why is he touching the microphone? Is everything good, just the way it is, Brian? I don't need to hold it?
Yeah, you're good.
Okay. All right, Matt, going for the gusto? Quickly, I'm Bob Donahue. I work with the private foundation, Community Heart and Soul out of Vermont. We're not consultants. We're with foundations that give you money. We're not asking for you to give us money. And we're working with other foundations in Michigan to give you more dollars for this program. The program started in Vermont. The Vermont Country Store, probably one of the America's most iconic country store. If you're in Maine, they're in Vermont. It's an incredible place. They opened up their second store about 20 years ago, and they immediately went online, and they became the Horton Family Foundation was formed because they became multimillionaires. They felt very passionate that they wanted to give all of their, or the vast majority of their family foundation dollars to communities that can better listen to their communities to improve participation. That's what the program is basically all about. And in particular, they did not like how towns had public hearings as just a requirement to kind of move on and have one or two public hearings with maybe 10 people showing up and calling that, using the word community on a community master plan or a community strategic plan, when you're really just in the minimal. So this is a maximum effort to really map out your community to get public participation, and it's flipping the paradigm because you're going to be going to individuals strategizing over a year and not just holding one, but it's a year-long process to really reach out to your community. One-on-one participation by people, not just at public hearings or workshops. So, the main aspects, everyone, as we map out over the year to 14 months, we strategically look at all of the different groups. Not just, oh, well, we had one church person out of the 15 churches, so we think churches participated. No. We want every church building, every school building, every athletic team, every athletic association, every nonprofit group. And you'll see on a spreadsheet how this evolves over time, so that you're using that as a baseline to reach out. And then there would be information at different public events, so that everyday residents who've never really had a chance to be involved, those lost voices over this year, can get involved. Go ahead, Matt.
Okay.
So let Matt describe the phases of the program.
Right, Heart and Soul really is in 4 phases. There is a getting started process that allows you to begin to test out some of the model, the Heart and Soul model, with the community before you really jump in and commit to it. But there really are 4 primary phases, and the first one, Imagine, really focuses on the organization that's developed to really lead the Heart and Soul effort. Phase 2 is Connect. This is when you really start to get into the community and seek out feedback from the community. One of the previous slides focused on the 3 primary principles of the Heart and Soul model. which is focus on what matters most to the community, involve everyone, and play the long game. And so connect is when we start to really invite people to tell us their story about why they like Negaunee, what challenges they see potentially here, and what the future for Negaunee might look like. From those stories, you move into phase 3 to begin to build a plan. And what you see from the stories, if you have covered a good cross-section of the community, what you'll start to see is themes arise out of these stories, specific things or categories of things that people want the community to focus on. And so in phase 3, you're beginning to drill down into what those themes are. And moving into phase 4, act. Those themes become public statements. It's from the data that you've pulled out of the community, the feedback from the community. You identify the themes. The themes are turned into public statements, and then in phase 4, you begin to build action plans around those statements. That was a really quick description of those 4 phases. You have information that'll give you additional information, and of course, we can answer some questions.
So the end result, you know, and we go slow. I mean, tonight, to have your endorsement, but there are other things, having you on board, it has to be seen as the community's plan. It shouldn't be seen as just the city's plan, or, and so you would need a board, your administrative structure, I think there's another, we can go beyond this.
Okay.
We'll go to that slide. We'll get to that in a second, but the result, and we'll talk about the structure, I think we're mirroring what was said earlier. We hope that for you see that it's a clear, very transparent process, constantly reporting through Facebook and on websites. And although it's strictly one-on-one, we're gonna be listening to people so that any particular issue can't dominate, but as an individual. So we're not gonna be interviewing organizations. We're gonna be interviewing individuals from organizations. There's a difference. And so we want that reporting back. So we will only deal with individuals for input. We will several times report back to the community through the process of what we're finding. We think that it will definitely be a perfect fit for your public participation plan that the state requires for funding state programs through your Redevelopment Ready program. In fact, it tends to prioritize communities. We've talked to foundations and to the state. If you have one of the better, not just the minimum, but the better your public participation plan is, the more likely your projects will rise to the top as priority, both with state, other national groups, foundations all across the state and the country. So, and also, if you coordinate this with, you can easily use the information gathering with just some additional tweaks to this program, so that you really do a much better job than just those minimum workshops and public hearings required by state law for a master plan. So we think the quality of community input for your master plan will be much greater. And then basically I already talked about how you become a high priority. There's that slide, I was out of sync. So basically, should you decide to move forward, again, we want a group which would be called the core team. Certainly the city has to be part of that. Because while we're not gonna call it the city of, this is the Negaunee Heart and Soul program, the city's gotta be, as a fiduciary. Yes, you have to be one of these, say, 5 to 7 or 9 people. That's gonna be kind of the consistent group, making sure that this program runs smoothly over the 12 to 14 months. You will need a person designated as the local project coordinator because the board shouldn't be the board that's gonna go out, exhaust themselves. And how can you find anybody committing for 12 to 14 months? And if they're gonna be a working board, they're like, not for me. So the local program coordinator will be a paid position locally. And then there's what we call the brand of this whole program is carried by the coach. So you will have a Community Heart and Soul certified coach. That's Matt's position here. And that's foundation, and the foundation is paying, the Heart and Soul Foundation is paying for Matt to be involved. So that's why I say we're not consultants. Vermont is providing, we have a slide of what Vermont, the Heart and Soul, Community Heart and Soul program is providing. So, and then other than this core team, this is all ad hoc. When we go out, we're listening to stories, there's training throughout the process to avoid listening bias. So again, no group can dominate. It's an individual one-on-one. So people that are listening to the community for the input are trained by professionals to avoid listening bias. I think I covered it. So, the dollars. Community Heart and Soul provides a $10,000 seed grant. We worked with MEDC. We had, and then Nate, your city manager, really went to bat. And Bulldog, I think you know Nate. But, so Nate talked about how it was a perfect fit with Redevelopment Ready, was able to get $15,000 from MEDC. Because of your public participation plan, that's why MEDC was very interested in following through on that. Community Heart and Soul will also pay, in addition to the seed grant, for the coach. There's additional money. We would suggest that, and Matt will talk about next steps. We would suggest that if you feel like this is something for you and would like to go forward, there would be a meeting advertised to the community with a fairly large facility so that wide open anyone could come and hear this presentation with Q&A. And so we would provide $500. Sometimes the only way you can get people to participate, in any town is, okay, we're gonna have pizza and a salad available. So they might tend to show up more. So, but any funds for logistics, we'll provide it for that community introduction meeting. And then I think Nate said you put additional money just to have for flexibility for, postage, printing, whatever. So you're really looking at about, 45, 50 is a goal, but you really have 98% of all the funds you would ever need. And we're looking at our folks back in Vermont are talking with your Marquette Foundation and the UP Foundation to maybe get that 43,000 that you already have to 45, and you're good. So basically your funding is really all on board. Primarily, except for 3,000 from the city, it's all private foundation supplied at MEDC. So that's the expenses, and so you match up.
Steps.
Yep. So Matt?
And next steps, Bob alluded to it, and I mentioned it earlier, there are those getting started activities that communities can take place or participate in. And it does a couple different things. Number one, it allows the organization to begin to absorb more deeper dive into the model of Heart and Soul. And at the same time allows the organization to begin to communicate that out to the community. What's coming, what's happening, why, what we're hoping that it will do. The second thing is it prepares us for launching phase one. Some of the things that you do in the getting started activities really set you up for success when you launch phase one, and so they're critically important. Another activity that we would undertake in the short term is applying for the Community Heart and Soul Seed Grant, and that is something that I would work with whoever is working on that application. we start to think about who might serve as a local program coordinator, because once phase one launches, you're gonna wanna have everything in place to go, so that you don't miss a beat and you continue to take the model to the community on a regular basis. And then, of course, the hiring and working with the certified coach.
The question of time. Money doesn't appear to be the issue, but to attract people, what does this mean about their time? So we talked about the program being 12 to 14 months. And the only people that would not be ad hoc, task-oriented things over this time is that advisory group. We would want them, at least the vast majority of, say, 5, 7, maybe 9 people. And some people may come and go, but we would like to keep them together for the 12 to 14 months. Everything else is, you don't have to commit to being, oh my God, another committee in my life. There will be things called committee, but they're short-term, task-oriented groups to accomplish something in this. Short-term commitments to get a piece of the program done. So I think ad hoc makes it easier to attract people. Question and answers? Yes, sir.
Okay, so,
Alright, we wanna get a motion on the floor before we do this, or ask questions and then get your vote? Alright, let's go ahead with questions and answers. Dave, and then do a motion. Is that what you would do?
I'll make a motion that we, City staff recommends we allow the city manager to develop a service agreement between Community Heart and Soul for the purpose of conducting a community project to be approved by the council.
I'll second.
Alright, Matt will second. Alright, let's open it up for discussion.
Okay, so
Yes, sir.
each city, like, Negaunee here, we have a city, master plan, which has been put together couple years ago, 3 years ago. And it's involved community involvement, right? So, and just to make sure that my ears are hearing properly,
Sure.
because sometimes it's a challenge. This would just be you coming in and helping out with filling in maybe a gap or two of the master plan,
Correct.
and not necessarily, but you're not attempting to override the master plan.
No, it's, state law requires that as a community, and I'm sure speaking to the choir in a lot of this, but, you have to adopt, at least with the best of intentions, every 5 years, or at least frequently, whatever that is. And so, as part of that process, you hold public input sessions for they're required by law to create this master plan. Of course, that's land use and zoning. So this process is wider, but it would also include that part of your master plan input as well.
Yeah, okay. That's what I thought. Thank you.
Did that go?
Any further questions?
Mr. Mayor, before you go, I'm just gonna add a few comments. So if we move forward tonight, we'll have to work with Community Heart and Soul and the Michigan Economic Development Corporation to create basically agreements, to be 2 separate agreements, I believe, to move this process forward. So we'll bring those back to you guys to review. There will be a more revised budget. The actual cost of the city will be roughly about $3,750. That could be spent over 2 budget cycles if necessary. This process is projected to take 1 year to 1.5 years, so it's slow walked in a way. We want to make sure we have quality feedback from folks, not just quick answers. We want to try to reach as many people as possible. As stated, we did get pre-authorized for a $15,000 grant from MEDC, and that's maintenance money for our redevelopment-ready communities status that we have currently, which we have to maintain over a 5-year period. So it took a little while for me to bring this organization and this idea to the council. I want to make sure that it would fit in good timing, where we could get some funding to make this happen. And I wanted to learn more about how this organization operated in other communities. I'm satisfied in what they do. I feel that it'll be a good addition to our community, getting this feedback so we can continue to provide the services that the people of Negaunee want us to provide. That's all I have.
That's it. With that, we will do a roll call vote. Do we want to do a? Alright, there's a motion. I'll do a roll call vote. There's two motions. With that motion, take a vote. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All against?
Me.
Councilmember Howard,
Nay.
Councilmember Flowey,
Yes.
Councilmember Kangas,
Yes.
Councilmember Deeds,
Yes.
Councilmember Ganavate,
Yes.
Councilmember Becker,
Yes.
Mayor Ilman.
Yes.
Motion passes 6-0.
Did you wanna move to Q&A still, or?
No, I think we're good.
We're good. Well, congratulations and thank you.
Thank you.
Very much, we look forward to working
Look
with
forward
you.
to it as well.
Thank you much.
Thank you.
Go slow, not push hard, just go slow, follow the
Come
process.
on,
Great.
Dave. Come on, Dave.
Thank you, yes.
Mr. Mayor, just one comment. So Nate is also part of a board that Bob and I have been on, Michigan Downtown Association, a tremendous asset. So it's great to work with an individual like that, and that truly takes this community in the heart, so.
Excellent, yes, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you all.
All right, moving on. 7.2, 2026 Street and Sewer Project, MDOT Category B Funds Resolution. And there's
City of Negaunee engineers developing plans for the 2026 street and sewer project. The project will include Hungerford reconstructed sanitary sewer, West Prince reconstructed sanitary sewer, and street crush and shape with HMA paving. The project will be funded utilizing the following: an MDARD grant for $100,000, sanitary sewer CIP fund $203,000, MDOT Category B grant $250,000, street millage $263,000 for a total of $816,000. The City of Negaunee is planning to apply for MDOT Category B grant, which can help pay for 50% of the road costs, up to a maximum amount of $250,000. Recommendation: City staff recommends approving the resolution for $250,000 in funding and designate the city manager as the grant agent. Commit funds of $566,000 and apply for an MDOT Category B grant to help fund the project. An alternative would be to remove Ann Street from this project. This will result in reduced street millage costs and a reduced Category B grant.
one more background, Nate, if you want.
Sure, Mr. Mayor. So if you recall from our last CIP that we had last year, capital improvements plan meeting, and our budget session, we had put Hungerford and West Prince, Victoria to Baldwin in the project scope. However, we pulled back on that just to, for funding purposes. We want to make sure that we're in a better position with our cash flow. With that said, we are going to move that to next year's capital improvement plans during the budget process. We've already received the MDARD grant for $100,000. I'm sure you've seen that in the news. If we can receive this $250,000 from the MDOT Category B funding, that'll save us $350,000 locally and be able to get these 3 streets taken care of. In addition, replacing the sewer under Hungerford and West Prince Street, Victoria to Baldwin. So these are extremely important projects that we want to move forward on. This is just applying for the grant. This is not saying that we're doing this right now. Should we receive the grant, then we would come back and have to sign out a grant agreement, so on and so forth. At that time, if we feel like we do not have the funds to commit towards that, There is potential we could change that, but we'd have to seek out permission from the state to do the grant process.
All right. With that, we would entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the resolution for $250,000 in funding and designate the city manager as the grant agent, commit funds of $566,000 and apply for an MDOT Category B grant to help fund the project.
I'll support that.
John. Any further comments, Linda?
I just think that it's overdue for these roads. I go down Ann Street a lot and it's terrible. I have to apologize to my car on a regular basis, so.
John, anything further?
This is just a great way to maximize our local dollars by matching them to other monies that we can get through the state.
Any further comments? Yes, Dave?
Okay, not mean to be a Debbie Downer, but, I guess, city manager, is there any infrastructure work that needs to be done underneath Ann Street?
There is, so not to give false perception, it will not be all of Ann Street that gets paved. It'll be from the intersection of the Healy area all the way up approximately to, we're hoping, Alice Street. So there is no infrastructure under that would have to be done. There is plans to do the rest of the Ann Street with a sewer project because there's some sewer that needs to be replaced in that area.
1,850 feet. Tracy, anything?
Nope.
Matt?
Is that other Ann Street work gonna be done this year? The sewer work and whatever else has to be done, so Ann Street is a street again? Instead of just parts and pieces of a street?
There is no approved project for Ann Street. There was no approved project for the CIP. That's not even part of the discussion.
Kevin? Anything further? Yeah, great initiative, great grant opportunity. Matching money is always a bonus, eh? So with that, we will take a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
All against? Seven point three, zoning map amendment, rezone with 52-53-030-004-00, first reading.
At the April Planning Commission meeting, the rezoning of parcel 52-53-030-004-00 from R2 to B2 was recommended to the City Council. Please see the map of the property attached. Recommendation is to conduct the first reading and hold a second reading and set a public hearing for the June meeting.
Want further background on that?
Mr. Mayor, there is no further background. You go to the planning commission has approved that zoning change, so that's a recommendation from them. If you have any further questions, not to put Councilmember Becker on the spot, he is chairman of the planning commission. If you have any questions directly about this, he's best suited to answer those questions.
All right, let's, before we get into discussion, let's entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to conduct the first reading and hold a second reading and public hearing at the June meeting.
Seconds. All right, Amanda, any further discussion?
Seems like the zoning board knows what they're doing, so.
Kevin, anything further? John, do we wanna put you on the spot and ask you what the planning commission may or may have not talked about?
I mean, the planning commission basically discussed that this was a B, or a residential, property, looking to be changed into a B2, property, and, listened to concerns of, people that lived in the neighborhood, but ultimately determined that it's, that a business use was congruent with other uses that are, adjoining parcels, and, approved or recommended, approving the change.
Good, thank you. Further comments, Matt? Tracy?
Nope, the piece of property for it.
Dave, anything?
You know,
Alright, with that, we will take a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
All against? Moving on, 7.4, MDOT Shared Streets and Spaces Grant Streetscape 2 bids. And if you will.
The attached resolution concerning the shared street and spaces grant concerns design, bid awards, and limited change order resolution. Please note that staff has deducted some elements of the design to keep within the budget of $200,000, the grant amount, and will work to not leave any funding on the table with the state. Recommendation to adopt the resolution which approves the design, bid awards, and limited change order.
Any further background?
Mr. Mayor, I'll just note that if you see the budget, it's at 196,511 of $200,000. There will be some potential change orders, I'm assuming, with construction, depending on how the subsurface of some areas are. Like we said, we will work not to leave any money on the table. This is a $200,000 grant, free and clear, no match to that grant from the city of Negaunee. That will include a pathway near the parking lot, the gravel parking lot, kind of known as the bar parking lot area. There'll be a bus shelter put in at the end of Tobin Street near Jackson Mine Park. There'll be a bus stop shelter put in the senior center. There'll be an enhanced crosswalk put in between City Hall and near the Lowenstein's building, with additional striping up by the Alps and into the Negaunee downtown corridor. In addition to that, there'll be some trees with tree grates put in the project, some upgrades to the Jackson Street sidewalks, and some other street furniture elements. In addition, there will be some panels, safety panels, will also act as an art panel put above the Silver Street viaduct near the Rail Street Outlook park that's there now. So all that will be done for the $196,000, and we're looking to move forward on this year with completion hopefully early fall. We think we got a good bid in. Overall, the bids came in a little over 200,000 at a little over $24,000 extra. So we did skim that back a bit. This is just a phase 2 of our downtown enhancement project.
Very good, thank you. All right, with that, let's entertain a motion.
I make a motion to adopt the resolution which approves the design, bid awards, and limited change order.
Thank you, Evan.
second.
And Dave will second that. All right, any further discussion, Kevin?
No.
All right, Dave?
I know it's kind of been on our docket here for a little bit here, but to see that as going forward on it is a good thing to go along with all the work we do around our street.
Amanda, any further discussion?
No, other than it's crazy the amount of money it takes to build a bus shelter. It's like $30,000, it must be made of gold. Something. Not fancy.
Tracy?
No.
All right, Matt? No, nothing. John?
Nothing to add?
Nothing to add. All right, no, great job, just fine. Just make our downtown even more beautiful. All right, with that being said, all in favor? Aye. All against? Me.
Councilmember Flowey,
Yes.
Councilmember Kangas,
Yes.
Councilmember Dietz, Yes. Councilmember Garabate,
Yes.
Councilmember Becker,
Yes.
Councilmember Howard,
Nay.
Mayor Illumin.
Yes.
Motion passes 6-1.
Thank you. Moving on, We're at 7.5, Electric Outdoor LLC agreement, 30-day extension.
City of Negaunee is currently in an agreement that is set to expire on June 1st, 2025 with Electric Outdoor LLC. This agreement allows Electric Outdoor to place beta camping test facility on grounds leased from the Iron Ore Heritage Trail to the city. Electric Outdoors is attempting to add an additional unit to this site with new agreement with the city. This agreement would open the use of the two proposed camping facilities to the public and provide revenue to the city. However, Electric Outdoors is requesting an extension to their current agreement in order to gain the proper approvals through the Negaunee Planning and Zoning Commission before they can proceed with this plan. Recommendation, city staff's recommendation is to extend the current agreement with EO Outdoors for 30 days to expire on June 31st, 2025.
All right.
Note to that, Mr. Mayor, that should say June 30th. Accidentally put a new day in the calendar, so.
All right, let's entertain a motion.
Make a motion. City staff recommendation is to extend the current agreement with EL Outdoors for 30 days to expire on June 30th, 2025.
Dave?
I'll second.
Kevin, I'll second that. All right, Dave, any comments, concerns?
Well, it's, just, 30 days, it's good to get there. Well, extra 3 days, that makes sure they got the ducks in a row.
Kevin,
Nothing yet.
any further comments? Nate, good.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to ask, is anybody from Electric Outdoors here?
Oh,
Did you ask them on the podium?
yeah, if you wouldn't mind.
My name is Tom Pereira. I've been with Electric Outdoors since last summer, helping to develop the current unit we have out there, and just manage that overall site off 480. We're really excited to continue working in Negaunee. The idea of developing that site further, adding an additional unit, upgrading the existing unit, and hopefully moving towards that public camping so we can introduce some revenue for the city of Negaunee. This agreement, like it says, really is just gonna give us the time we need to further develop the site plan, and get a new agreement together that's gonna be beneficial for everyone.
What are you finding out right now? What is your research bringing into your organization? What do you?
So last summer, like a lot of startups, it was a little slow. We didn't get quite as much testing as we needed done in terms of camper experience. So, and as well as that first unit was our first unit, so it's very rough. But with the previous units we've been making, the company's been making downstate, we're looking to almost immediately do some testing and kind of work out the battery issues, so we can, ideally by end of July, get public camping going.
Right. Environmental impact, minimal?
That's part of kind of the, this thing is we need to work on the zoning as well as making sure that environmental issues aren't an issue. We didn't have any problems until the very end of the season last year where, I forget who it was, someone came in and said, we're gonna have to take a look at another gray water issue. But we are working with a couple other companies to develop some sort of system to get that gray water off the site completely without dumping it anywhere near that area.
Any other questions? John?
Yeah, so a little clarification maybe, Tom. You're indicating that you'd like to bring in another unit onto that parcel, but that's not part of the current agreement, right? The current agreement is for one unit, so.
Correct.
This language is a little confusing in the sense that it keeps talking about this agreement and needs to distinguish better between the fact that you all need a new agreement in order to proceed with that, right?
Yeah.
So that a second unit will not be put onto that site until after that agreement's negotiated.
Not at all.
And so ultimately, is that current unit going to be rented out anytime before June 30th?
It would not, no.
So it's just sitting there until the end of this extension?
Essentially, not in terms of public use, yes, it's gonna be just sitting there. We're still gonna be getting it back up and running, so that it's gonna be able to get going. It needs to catch up a little bit to the current units that we have coming out, so it'll take a little bit just to get it ready.
And in the future, and granted, you may not have all the answers to this, you'd like to add one more unit, or are you looking to add more than one unit on that site?
From previous discussions with, I believe Nate, this is, I'm kind of taking on a new role and
Sure.
doing this kind of bridge between Electric Outdoors and Negaunee. It was my understanding that we want to further develop the site into somewhat of a full-on campground, with more than just 1 or 2 or 3 of these units.
Yep.
But in terms of this summer's plan, 1 minimum would be what we're looking at, potentially 2 units this summer, but really 1 is gonna be that goal we're hitting. Moving forward beyond that, we would like to continue adding more units, to however City of Negaunee would like to increase the use of that land.
If I may?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so I just, I appreciate that you're sort of in the middle here, and this maybe feels like you're getting the brunt of this, but I want you to know that this is, I think, the 3rd time that your organization has come asking for an extension or asking either the planning commission or the city council to hold a special meeting in order to accommodate EO's timeline. I find that frustrating, to say the least. It's really unclear, I think, what your plan is going forward. And there are a number of moving parts to this, including both the county and the state that regulate campground facilities. And so I would just encourage you to do your due diligence expeditiously, because if you show up here in 30 days and want us to just rubber stamp this, I don't see that happening. I certainly won't be supporting that. But I feel like there hasn't been necessary or sufficient communication to warrant an extension, and leaves me really wondering, what the benefit is to the city in this relationship. That's all I've got.
John, what is your concerns? I mean, I understand the concern, but, if we, we're allowing them another 30 days, I think we allow them the 30 days, they come back to us with their findings, correct? Like, I believe we wanna know what their findings are, what their ultimate,
Yeah. My concern is just this has been the pattern of behavior right from the get-go.
You took it out of my mouth.
Yeah, so in August, we approved a 90-day contract with them, and we specifically removed the word extension from the contract so that it could not be extended. And then they came back to get a 6 months extension, which we essentially had to write and sign a new agreement with them for 6 months. That was supposed to be on the same terms, which I would assume would mean it could not be extended, because those were the terms. And yet here we are again, effectively writing a new agreement, because theoretically the agreement we have cannot be extended. So it's bothersome on a number of levels. So I just would like the city to not feel like it's an afterthought in this process. Beyond that, the bigger idea of a campground on that property, needs to be vetted more thoroughly. There needs to be a very clear contract in place, because that parcel is leased from the Heritage Trail for 99 years. But it's under the impression, that's under the condition that the city is operating a campground there, not some other third party. And I know there are a number of concerns at the Heritage Trail Board in regards to that. So it's going to take more than 30 days or 45 days to hammer this out. And so hopefully you guys will get on that.
Cool, thank you.
Yeah.
Any further discussion? With that, we will take a vote. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Nay.
Nay. Councilmember Kangas?
Nay.
Councilmember Dietz?
Nay.
Councilmember Ganavate?
Aye.
Councilmember Becker?
Aye.
Councilmember Howard?
Aye.
Councilmember Flowey?
Nay.
Mayor Elman?
Yes.
Motion passes 4-3.
Thank you, Tom. Thank you. All right, moving on, 7.6, School Resource Officer Agreement Amendment. And background, please.
The city of Negaunee is currently in an agreement with the Negaunee Public School District to provide a school resource officer, with the agreement being approved by the council at its September 24 regular meeting. The agreement originally written was designed to facilitate grant wording that inadvertently placed the full burden of the officer's costs on the school district. The agreement was meant to have the school district cover only 60% of the costs and the city 40%. The Negaunee Public School District is requesting that we amend this agreement to reflect cost sharing of 60% by the school and 40% by the city. Recommendation, city staff recommends to amend the school resource officer agreement with the Negaunee Public School District as presented.
Further background, Nate?
Not much, Mr. Mayor. This wasn't discovered till we did our first round of billing under the new contract. This would be our third contract we're involved with without this amendment. If you recall, the information presented at the meeting when we talked about renewing this was 60-40. However, when the school attorneys got a hold of it, they kind of mucked it up a little bit and tried to match it up with the state grant, and this is what you got. So sometimes you gotta be careful on that end. From our perspective, we let them take the lead on that, expecting that they were satisfied with what they had, and here we are. So I fully support changing this because that's the overall agreement we had originally wanted. That was the intent of the council with the information we provided. This is just a simple fix, and we will certainly make sure that we're more in the driver's seat next time when these contracts come up, so.
Very good. I'll entertain a motion before we have comments.
I'll make a motion to amend the school resource officer agreement with the Negaunee Public School District as presented.
Tracy supports the motion. All right, anything further, Amanda?
I just, we're just fixing the paperwork, but, it is very important for, safety of our kids and school staff to have a resource officer, and we need to share the cost in that.
Tracy? Dave?
I like it, because after, when school gets out, that pretty much, you have an extra police officer on the street.
Kevin? Matt? John? No? I understand that this is only more or less a revision of amendment.
It's an amendment that reverts back to the
Original agreement, right?
So there's nothing that changed in this other than the word amended
Correct.
throughout.
Correct. But also one of my, being on this council for quite a few years, when I saw the original time that we were gonna put a SRO in our schools, I couldn't have been more proud, so. Very, very good. With that, I'll take a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
All against? Seven point seven, parking lot agreement, Negaunee City Center, Negaunee Rocks LLC. And if you will.
City of Negaunee has been in agreement with the current property owners, Negaunee Rocks LLC, for parking lot access for public parking of Marquette Street in downtown Nagani, original agreement attached. The agreement expired in November of '23. It is the recommendation of city staff that the city renews this agreement with attached agreement language. Highlights of this agreement include public access to free parking, and in return, the city will maintain the lot, including sanding, snow removal, striping, and other basic maintenance or care as provided to other city parking lots. This agreement is for a term of 10 years. City staff's recommendation is to approve the agreement with Nagani Rocks LLC to provide continued parking for the public in downtown Nagani.
Anything to add, Dean?
Mr. Mayor and council, the only thing I would add is that it took a little while to kind of get this off the ground, so I do apologize, it's is expired. We did act as though the contract was still in full force at the time. The Cantolas were gracious enough to allow us to continue to allow people to park there, and then we just continue to maintain the lot as we do with other city lots, which I'm not going to say is always the best because our lots are not very good. But with that said, we did maintain them nonetheless. This is a great opportunity for us to be involved with a local downtown business again, and continue to provide the parking that's needed in downtown.
All right, I'll entertain a motion.
Make a motion to approve this agreement, Nagani Rocks LLC.
Dave will second that motion. Any further discussion, John?
No, it's a good arrangement and, we need parking.
Dave?
Yeah, well, your people say parking, 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 well, it's pretty hard to take a parking lot away.
Any further discussion? All right, that is a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
All against? Motion passed. 7.8, land swap, City of Nagani and Porter Limited. And back on the leads.
City of Nagani was contacted by Don Chanella, who represents Porter Limited, concerning a proposed land swap. The proposal requests that the council consider swapping two 20-acre parcels of land located near the north boundaries of the Old Town property with a 40-acre parcel located in the south-central easterly direction of the city off of Miller Road. Should this exchange occur, the city would use the two 20-acre parcels for recreation only, and it would include said properties into the Old Town land holdings. With full disclosure, some environmental factors do exist on the property from when the property was used for mining. Staff has determined that this contamination will not be disturbed and will not interfere with the future and current use being recreation. City staff recommends to approve the agreement with Porter Limited to swap the two 20-acre parcels of land with the one 40-acre city-owned parcel of land under the stipulations of the attached agreement. Alternative, provide further direction to the city manager and city attorney for possible change to the agreement.
Attorney, how do we want to?
Well, it's certainly your pleasure. A lot of time and effort, both on Porter Limited side and the city of Nagani have kind of gone into this idea, and we're looking for some direction from the council. One, to either proceed or not proceed, and two, what, if any, changes or amendments to the agreement you'd be looking for. I know Mr. Chanella is here tonight as well, but because this is a land swap, it falls under the MCL 15268 D, which allows the council to consider this in closed session, if that's the council's pleasure. Also, you need 2/3 vote to go into a closed session meeting to discuss this. So to the extent you do want to discuss this, talk about any type of compensation or consideration for the deal or other issues, you don't think the public should be privy to at this time, you have that ability.
Okay.
But it's up to the council how you want to proceed.
I would like to
We will hear from
Chanella first,
Okay, I think
then
makes
share.
the most sense.
Call Mr. Chanella to share his.
Yes, let's hear from the
Mr. Chanella, if you will.
Sure.
Just give you a little background here.
Porter Limited owns it 40 acres, and it's actually in Old Town, 10 acres of it is in Old Town. And, it's kind of been an important part of the recreational trail. And we granted the Range Mountain Bike Club permission to keep using it and allowing the public to go through there. Even though the original intent was to develop it, but after we spoke with city staff, I found out they didn't really want to provide roads and easements from the south end. We have access through Mill Street. We decided, you know, it would be better if the city wanted to trade the parcel. That's how this whole discussion got started. And Porter Limited has 40 acres, according to the plat book. City of Negaunee has 37. Near the Buffalo location, I think Ann said Miller Road. That land is much better suited for development, and a trade would allow the public access to the existing trail systems and reserve, you know, that property for that use. Plus the property that we would be purchasing, or the Porter Limited would be used for developing, split into lots, which would bring more tax revenue to the city. And I think it's a practical solution for everything. Enables city to protect the valuable recreational corridor, because my understanding is that stretch is the only way to get to Ishpeming on that end of Old Town. But that's about it. I mean, if you have questions, I'd be more than happy to answer them.
All right. Thank you, sir.
Yep.
Now I believe, entertain a motion to go into closed session.
I'll make that motion.
Second on that motion. Roll call votes to go into closed session.
Councilmember Dietz.
Yes.
Councilmember Ganabate.
Yes.
Councilmember Becker.
Yes.
Councilmember Howard.
Yes.
Councilmember Flowey.
Yes.
Councilmember Kangas.
Yes.
Mayor Illumin.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Now,
Do you wanna go back in the room here?
Yeah, I've got one. Yeah.
So the audience, you guys can stay where you're at, you don't have to leave the room, council's gonna retire to a different room.
all right, can I get a motion on the floor to come out of closed session back into open session, please?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second. All right, Tracy and Kevin. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? All right, moving on, number 8, consent agenda. 8.1, minutes, April 10, 2025, regular minutes. 8.2, claims and accounts. 8.3, revenue expenditure trial balance reports. 8.4, delinquent bills to the summer tax rolls. 8.5, disposal of assets, library shares. Hear a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
Second, John and Dave. All in favor? Aye. All against? Number 9, public comment. Again, public comment, 3 minutes at the podium. You state your name, current address, and the floor is yours.
Hi, Jeff Plummer, 566 Bluff Street, not talking about Florida right now, so you guys are great. Just wanted to float out an idea that I brought up before in the past. We've talked a lot about housing crisis. I particularly think we still have an affordable housing crisis. I would love to see a discussion, and this is just planting a seed, floating this out there again, of our ADU, the ability for all residential areas to build ADUs is great. I think the minimum square foot size is way too big, especially given the size of platted lots in Negaunee, I think the minimum size for a single story is something like 720 or 715, and 2 stories like 800. That's a pretty big footprint on small platted lots in a town. Like a lot of the lots are only 50 by 125 or 150. So with all the setbacks, many properties, it's impossible to build an ADU. And many communities have dramatically shrunk their ADU sizes down to as small as even 150 or 200, I believe Los Angeles has, as long as you can make all the code minimum sizes for rooms in that. So if they all fit code, they all still have conventional construction footings, and they all respect setbacks and all the other codes. I would love to see in the future, going forward, maybe discussion, if we really want affordable, truly affordable housing, we should have that on the table, because everything housing related is based on cost per square foot. When you look at even the smallest ADU, you're looking probably by today's cost construction, $150,000, $200,000 to have a little house on your property, where 200, 300 square foot, you could probably build that for well under 100,000. So those are my thoughts on that, just planting a seed. Thank you for your time, appreciate it.
Any further public comment?
Henry Plummer, 566 Wall Street. I would just like to talk briefly about, recently I've been, I've noticed, and the thought came into my head that, Negaunee, here we have across the street the new playground, and Marquette, they have a new playground. And a lot of these, they did a very great job on both the playgrounds. Well done to the city of Negaunee with the playground here. But a lot of the equipment designed for younger kids, which is very important, but there's not a lot of stuff around for older kids and adults. Equipment such as stuff like outdoor calisthenics gyms and stuff. The only real example of this I can think of in Marquette County would be the Fit Strip, has some equipment like this. So just planting the seed, Negaunee, that would be really cool to have some sort of Fit Strip or something similar to that in Marquette, with just basic things like pull-up bars, parallel bars, that are great for people to use at all ages and are healthy to use too. There's nothing more natural for people than hanging, and most people struggle just to hang from a bar when it's really one of the most natural things as a primate to do. And so it's also very healthy for you. I started hanging 2 years ago, and I've had much less injuries, especially in my shoulders, and I know other people who have fixed injuries in their arms, especially from hanging and stuff. And so just planting the seed of having some sort of equipment like this in Negaunee would be really cool. Something like the Fit Strip, outdoor exercise and stuff. Just planting that seed. Thank you.
Any further public comment? None seen. Closing public comment. Moving on to council comment. Anybody want to jump at an opportunity for council comment? Amanda, what do you got?
No. I like what was brought up by, Jeff and Henry, I think a smaller square footage, for an ADU would be a lot more affordable for, the families in Negaunee. Building a retirement, little home for their loved ones and things like that. You don't really need 700 square feet. I've seen much smaller and just as comfortable. Not as much to clean, things like that. And I think an outdoor calisthenics, I didn't even think about that. That's a great idea, Henry, and it'd be cheap, probably. To create an outdoor calisthenics thing, and I think it would pair well with the bike trail and all the outdoor activities and recreation that we have too.
Very good, thank you. Tracy, what you got?
No comment.
Dave?
I don't know, forecast for next week, I see mid-70s. So, I'm tired of this mid-40 stuff, even though the sun's shining, it's deceiving.
Gavin, what you got?
I even saw 80 degrees next week, so.
No way.
Yeah, I'll just echo what you just said.
Matt, anything?
None tonight.
John, what you got?
Yeah, I'll take a pass here tonight too.
Thanks, sounds good. As for me, I didn't have anything until Henry stood up there and, number one, Henry, I don't know how old you are, but, sometimes it takes a lot of guts to just stand up in front of a group of people and talk, so hats off to you for that. And number two, anybody that knows me well enough knows that, my fitness journey has ups and downs over the years, and I work out most mornings, and pull-ups are my absolute favorite exercise. And finding a pull-up bar in the city of Negaunee is impossible. I would love to be able to just knock out pull-ups somewhere in town, so what an excellent idea, thank you for that. That's all I have, Mr. City Manager. Yeah.
Mr. Mayor and Council, I don't have much tonight. Just a quick brief update on the Vista Theater. We obviously have removed the panels because they were starting to fail. Those panels are kept in our possession right now, diligently numbered in case we have to put them back. That is going to be up to the state of Michigan's Historic Preservation Office, whether we have to. As you recall, we are trying to go after state historic tax credits and federal historic tax credits. If we get those, we may have to put those back up. We are going to try very hard to advocate to keep it the way it looks. Obviously, with the wood removed from the front of the building and restore the brick facade to its original state when the building was constructed. It appears that with the removal of those items that, and I don't know if it's due to that, but it appears the pigeons have decreased in population. You probably know more than anybody every morning, so.
They're talking to me.
Yeah, the pigeons, because I see this guy out working every morning, so, and those pigeons are out there every morning, so. But it appears that they've kind of disappeared a little bit. I don't know where they went. Hopefully they stay away. They came to your house? Oh, no. So we are working on trying some different things to control those pigeons, not killing them, but we are working on some different things. That leads me to say that we are still working with the Vista plans. It's taking some time to get all that stuff squared away. We are working with our engineer who's working through all the mechanical, electrical, all that stuff. It just takes time. We want to make sure we do it right. We're not going to rush into it. Once that's complete, we're hoping before that we will know more information about obtaining those tax credits so we can close the gap to the cost of refurbishing not refurbishing, but getting that building operational per se into a community theater / community center. And then we'll find out what other funding we may need to obtain to close the gap even further to finish that project out. So we are working on that. We'll see where that leads. The last thing I'll mention to you is if you take note, and this isn't an action we really take at council, but just kind of a yes or no unless there's some major objections. We have set the employee appreciation picnic from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. at the Jim Thomas Pavilion on August 15th. Just for the public's knowledge, the city of Negaunee does not pay a dime for this. City council members and city manager ponies up money to pay for a lunch for our workers, and a majority of them do get the rest of the day off for that. So is there any major objections to having a picnic on that specific date? It would be August 15th. Yep.
So if it's usually a Friday, that's a Friday, right?
That would be a Friday. Seeing that there's no major objections, we'll continue with that, and we'll work through the next couple sessions discussing that with the mayor and council members. Thank you.
Mr. City Attorney.
I went to the employee picnic last year and it was great. All the food was fabulous. We can't donate because of ethical obligations to the state bar. But I would encourage everybody to donate and go, it was a hoot last year.
Hamburg was awesome.
The hamburgers
April, wasn't it?
particularly.
Best burger we ever had.
When your first experience at an employee picnic is Paulie Mino grilling?
Yeah, your turn this year.
All right, with that, let's hear a motion for adjournment, please.
Make motion to adjourn.
Tracy and Matt. All right, all in favor?